Hey guys, what's going on? Mike the Caveman Q here again, Paleo Problem Island, MikeTheCaveman.com. Got another edition of Monday Nights with Mike, live stream Q&A. Ask me anything, health related, you know the deal. So yeah, gonna get this started and gonna be talking about a number of different things tonight. We'll be starting out initially with uh, whether or not exogenous ketones can reduce neuroinflammation, brain inflammation, and apparently it was a little delayed there. Hey Shoshana, what's up? Popping in early. Awesome. So yeah, so if you look down in the description, you'll see the article we're going to be taking a look at regarding the ability of exogenous ketone. Well, that particular article is a systemic review of a variety of different ways of attaining ketosis, whether it be through caloric restriction, whether it be through uh, exogenous ketones, whether it be through just ketogenic diet. And specifically, what we're going to be focusing on, as Steph in her comment right there is saying, is do they help with neuroinflammation? So we are going to be focusing specifically on the exogenous ketones. So I'm going to go and pop over to, excuse me, over to here. And I have a study open if you want to follow along with us here. It's down in the description, this here article. And this is a 2014 one. It's coming from animal studies, but it was one of the better ones that I saw with respect to specifically the inclusion of exogenous ketones for neuroinflammation. Hey, Mickey, what's up? How are you doing tonight? Yeah. I don't know the last time you made it out to one of my live streams. I'm so happy to see you. Of course, got to take my Coastal Craft Kombucha little sip break every once in a while. Just got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, so this here study, first thing we're going to do is we're going to run through the PDF a little bit, and then we'll look at some of the graphs and all that fun stuff. So this particular study, while not specifically about neuroinflammation in the context that I know you're looking for, Steph, I know you're looking for just general neuroinflammation, this is one of the better studies that I found in terms of being able to figure out how the mechanism specifically to exogenous ketones work. Because there's plenty of research regarding ketones in and of themselves, a ketogenic diet, and or the effects of caloric restriction for that, but specifically exogenous, this one actually compared it to caloric restriction and a ketogenic diet. So we'll take a look. So the abstract, as a predictor of potential clinical outcome, we performed a systematic review of controlled studies that assessed the experimental stroke outcome in rodents maintained on special diets, calorie restriction, ketogenic diet, or following the direct administration of ketone bodies. Preclinical studies are identified by searching the web databases and the reference lists of the relevant original articles and reviews. Based upon that, they found 16 published studies and a total of 733 experimental animals that met the specific criteria and were analyzed using Cochrane Review Manager software. This resulted in objective evidence to suggest beneficial effects of the ketogenic pathway on pathologic and functional outcomes following experimental stroke. So yes, exactly. So in a lot of conditions, particularly when we're talking about people who have thyroid issues, adrenal issues, following a ketogenic approach, unfortunately, isn't always the best idea. It can put more stress onto the system than it's worth. As such, that is one of the main places where I like to see the supplementation of exogenous ketones. So looking through here, this is specifically looking at stroke and the after effects, which obviously in a stroke, you're going to be seeing some neuroinflammation. So for decades, we've known that caloric restriction, that and intermittent fasting can extend the lifespan of rodent species, and probably primates, by reducing free radical production, inflammation, and or increasing resistance to stress. Such strategies would therefore be predicted to be benefit of both the cardio and cerebral vasculature, and other dietary regimens can also be beneficial to neurologic function. For instance, the ketogenic diet, in which fat replaces carbohydrate, and it's a common misunderstanding, but also the lowering of protein, but we've talked about that ad nauseum before, but is clinically useful in the treatment of epilepsy, and there's a growing interest in extending its use to other neurological disorders, including acute injuries such as stroke and trauma. But to provide a prediction, yeah, whatever. We'll move past that. For the purposes of this, they went through a number of different studies. As we saw before, they went through and found 16 different studies they looked at, and the exclusion criteria prevented bias by way of including only experimental ischemia was induced. The animals were exposed to a ketogenic state. There was a control group, and an appropriate outcome measure was measured following stroke. So they went through and they explained the data extraction. Again, you can go through that yourself later. They went and did a data analysis using Cochrane Review Manager and performed a meta-analysis. From there, the effects of the ketogenic state as compared with control on post-stroke outcomes was assessed using standardized mean difference, whereby the difference in effect between intervention and control is divided by their total standard deviation. So essentially, the mean difference, the amount of change that we saw was taken and divided. It was, obviously cut into by the standard deviation. Now, if you know standard deviations, think kind of like a curve along that, how far away from that mean is your standard deviation, how many steps away. So they went and divided that mean by the standard deviation to give you a value. So a standardized mean represents zero represents a lack of intervention effect, whereas a positive value indicates a beneficial effect. A negative value demonstrates a detrimental effect of the intervention. This allows for comparisons to be made even though different methods of measurement and or different animal models are used. So statistical heterogeneity was accounted for by use of the Dersimian and layered pooling method of random effects. Yeah, super fun stuff. Yay for statistics. Anyway, so the designs of the studies, there were 19 studies that they started with. They investigated that effect over the course of following through cerebral ischemia, and 3 of the studies, however, were excluded as the mean value. As the mean values and the distribution of data, standard error or standard deviation, were not reported. So since they were explicitly using mean and standard deviation, obviously couldn't include those. The main characteristics of the 16 included studies were reported on in Table 1. All those reported on of inducing ketogenic state versus control on one or more outcomes following cerebral ischemia. All right, we have said that a couple of times. Unfortunately, studies are like to be a little bit repetitive in order to really be clear on each part in each section of the paper. But anyway, in terms of outcome following cerebral ischemia, the majority of the studies used lesion volume. 5 used percent of water content, 3 used neuron count, and 2 studies used survival rate. And 1 study used neurological score. Now, a number of studies also measured functional outcomes, including the elevated maze, open field activity, and novel object recognition. So whereas the initial ones were more physiological aspects, the first one is more a measurement. The first one is measurement of damage, so lesion volume. Second one is percent water content, so edemas. So it's more of a measurement of inflammation by way of swelling. Next one was measurement of damage, so neuron count. From there, they measured survival rate, which obviously, did you die? And then the last one was a neurological score, which is obviously some kind of mathematical score they evaluate on. I could obviously pull up the Aramugam, which is the study that's there, but I don't think we really care enough to go that far. So, a number of them use functional outcomes, like we said, elevated maze, open field activity, radial maze, and novel object recognition. So basically, performance outcomes. Basically, how did their brain function afterwards? Were they able to still be able to do things? So, determining that there was initially an overall significant protective effect of a ketogenic state on outcome following cerebral ischemia, regardless of individual study characteristics. Our literature research indicated that studies tended to induce a ketogenic state either by intervention by way of caloric restriction or a ketogenic diet, or through the administration of ketones. Thus, we determined that if a beneficial effect was seen following either intervention or exogenous ketone administration. So, they used type of parameter. They basically, as we'll see in figure 2 coming up, they found the data were grouped according to their intervention based on whether it was all of them, intervention, or exogenous administration. So whether it was the fasting or caloric restriction, the ketogenic diet, or given exogenous ketones. So we'll make it towards the discussion. To restate the major findings from our analysis, we found beneficial effects on pathologic and functional outcomes of dietary intervention or exogenous ketone administration, either prior to or following experimental stroke. Neuropathology, such as stroke, can cause a mismatch between energy demand and supply. Blood flow goes awry, oxygen levels fall, and mitochondria malfunction. A period of fasting results in short-term ketosis, and increased reliance on ketone bodies appears to form a cerebral metabolic adaptation. Catabolic metabolism is enzymatically simpler and more efficient than glucose or pyruvate metabolism, and is reported to increase global cerebral flow. Blood flow. Indeed, ketone bodies are the only circulating substrates, in addition to glucose, known to contribute significantly to cerebral metabolism. Cerebral brain would be redundant. Basically, ketones and sugar are the only things that can fuel your brain. All right, precise mechanisms whereby caloric restriction, the ketogenic diet, and ketone bodies provide protection in ischemic stroke are not clear, but there is a notable improvement in mitochondrial function, a decrease in inflammation, and an increase in the expression of neurotropins such as BDNF and BFGF. I'll be honest, don't know what that is. Let's find out what the BDNF. They probably mentioned it at some point earlier. Brain-derived neurotropic factor, and the other is BFGF. Basic fibroblast growth factor. Cool story. Whether this relates to higher level of potential energy available in the carbon-hydrogen bonds of beta-hydroxybutyrate compared to pyruvate is unclear, potentially important to recovering ATP levels during reperfusion. Yeah, so going past that, gets into a little bit of sirtuins, but NADH. So NADH is pretty important when it comes to oxygen potential, so recovery from stress, ox redox potential. Caloric restriction and ketogenic diet appear to represent cost-effective and efficient strategies through which stroke incidence and or subsequent pathology could be reduced. So basically dealing with it afterwards. So yes, what we're talking about with this right now, based on the studies, these are animal studies, they're all based on rats. But in the rats, yes, they seem to find that, well, when we pull up the graph in a little bit, or rather the table, we'll be able to see that a little bit clearer. But yes, in fact, in some measures, the exogenous ketones did better. Now, let's pull up the table now for right now. Where are the literature cited? And here we go. So if we look here, this is figure 1. This is the standardized mean difference. So basically, again, they took the mean, divided it by the standard deviation, and they gave our values. So the total is the complete. This is both the dietary and the exogenous ketones. This is simply dietary, and this is the ketones given exogenously. And interestingly, there were more dietarily. There were also more animals being used, or sorry, rather, there were more controls being used, excuse me. So there were 24 controls, there were 464 put on a diet, either caloric restriction or through ketogenic diet. There were 307 supplemented with the exogenous ketones, and there were 16 who were given, 16 who were controls compared to that, who weren't given the exogenous ketones. Now, this was over the course of 11 studies for dietary, 7 studies for the exogenous. And if we look at the standard deviation or standardized mean differences, exogenous ketones actually outperformed the dietary ketone and actually outperformed the total mean difference. So in this particular context, in this particular study, this meta-analysis, they actually outperformed both endogenous or dietary ketones and in terms of outright production. Now, this year, what was the standardized mean difference? I think, it was total intervention. So it was different. So they standardized it regardless of what the potential outcome was. We could look a little deeper into the individual ones, but for now, basically, the exogenous ketones did seem to do better overall. In this next figure here, we have total, dietary, and exogenous. So looking at this again, interestingly enough, when we're talking about pathological effect, basically the reduction of deleterious effects and the regaining of beneficial effects, interestingly enough, in these animals, exogenous ketones outperformed endogenously produced. Now, to be clear, I think that overall, the benefits in those who can safely consume a ketogenic diet. Overall, you're going to be better off actually doing that than supplementing with it. However, as an adjunct or in people who have issues with their adrenals, with their thyroid, this study is another one that seems to indicate that exogenous ketones may, in fact, be the way to go, particularly when we're talking about the brain. Because again, we saw a greater increase in functional effect. This here is the mean. That's the standard deviation on top of that, or confidence interval. And then from here, pathological effect, again, still better overall. Okay, and this next one, excuse me, got a little bit of an itch. So we have A and B. What is B in reference to? A beneficial effect of any type of intervention was observed when assessing pathological physiological outcomes. Okay, so when they're analyzed based according to different types of outcomes, function, edema, lesion volume, and cell viability, a beneficial effect of ketogenic diet was observed for all outcomes apart from the last. So this one no longer separates the endogenous and exogenous. However, in this case, what we're seeing though is that function sees great benefit, edema or swelling, based thereof, pretty solid benefit. Lesion volume, not too bad. Cell viability, so the ability of the cells to basically continue, not the best. And then from there, standardized mean difference of all outcomes when data are grouped according to study quality. So they also compared how good of a study they each were. They were rated based on scores of 2, 3, and 5. Or rather, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the better studies, the average study ended up getting the best results, but the average quality study. So do you have to take exogenous ketones on an empty stomach or ... So initially, I would generally recommend taking them with food. Particularly a little bit of protein wouldn't hurt, a little bit of fat. I would have them with something, with your breakfast at first. And I would start at like half a scoop or half a packet. From there, I would move upwards towards one full packet or one full scoop, depending on the product you're using. But initially, just for gastrointestinal purposes, I would say start with food. The biggest key is when you're talking about exogenous ketones, think about where they're coming from. So coconut oil, 15% of them are MCTs. If you eat too much coconut oil, what happens? You get the runs. You take that one step further, now you're at MCTs and they're pure. Take too much of that, it's a little less of too much, you get the runs. But what are those MCTs, whether it be purified or from the coconut oil producing? Well, they are generally producing beta-hydroxybutyrate. So endogenous ketones. They are being produced in your liver to create that beta-hydroxybutyrate. Taking it exogenously, it can go through the system even faster. So make sure that you start slow. But that's the case with pretty much everything. So yeah, hopefully that was pretty beneficial. Is it still effective with food? I have the Keto OS that you gave me a long time ago. Yes. So is it effective? Absolutely. I definitely say you should be fine with consuming it with the food. Is it going to be as effective? Probably not. But again, if we're talking about titrating up, I'd rather you be able to get the dosing in and not have a problem than try to take it then try to take it on an empty stomach and then get the runs and then you get no benefit. So, weigh your options. All right. From there, what else do we got, guys? That was a good question, though, from Steph to start. What other questions we got? So, while I'm waiting for some more questions, I guess we can build off this a little bit. Let's see. In terms of just general neuroprotective effect, we can pull something else up on ketogenic. I choose no diarrhea. So you choose no violence in your butt. Good choice. So I was looking at some other studies earlier with respect to it. Okay, amino acids for detox. I feel like you asked me that a really long time ago, and we talked about this, right? So hold on. Let's see what we got. We have. You guys are gonna see the back end. Uh-oh. Shh. We're talking about the enzymes, why protein's important for your liver, right? How can protein help your liver? Let's see. All right. So we have this playing here. Now, can you hear that? No, right? Hold on. To be clear, you guys can hear that, right? Just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. So yeah, so let me know if you can hear that. Hold on. You know what? Just to be, we had a little bit of echo for a second. Let's see if, cool. Yes. All right. Hold on. Maybe not. So wait, have I had this playing and you guys can't hear it? Why nobody let me know? Oh, thanks for letting me know. All right, so I've been playing that nonsense for the last like minute and a half. Nobody told me. All right, lime brain. Sorry for asking about neuroinflammation and detox. Sorry. Okay, how about it? Is there certain amino acids? So yeah, hold on. I have an idea. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and turn this up for a second. Turn this down. Yes, if I'm getting
or BCAAs play a role in detoxification in individuals with cirrhosis and hepatic encephalopathy. However, to be clear, the literature also indicates, I know anecdotally, that excess, way too much protein can cause liver damage as well and lead to jaundice. So, what do you do? Well, it's super important that you are actually still getting in adequate protein. So, eat lots of quality animals, particularly for their cysteine and BCAAs, the branched chain amino acids. You're also going to want to get in lots of bone broth and gelatin, as they are excellent sources of glycine and glutamate, besides all of their other benefits we've talked about before. Another great idea on the protein end is a quality whey protein like InPower Whey. The reason being, the literature is extensive on the ability of whey protein to increase the production of glutathione as well. So definitely consider a quality whey protein like InPower. You may also consider doing some intermittent fasting and or a lowish carb to ketogenic approach, as well as making sure to get an adequate movement and exercise. The reason being, all of which are excellent ways to induce autophagy, which is the breakdown of redundant or damaged tissue. So autophagy is basically our body's way of cleaning house, detoxing. You may also want to consider some systemic enzymes like fibrenza, which will help with both the breakdown of your food, particularly the protein, as well as with the reduction of fibrous tissue, often found in damaged and scarred liver tissue. The exogenous digestive enzymes will also help ease the burden of the pancreas in their production, which will in turn lead to reduced burden on the liver. A quality probiotic like Megaspore will also help ensure that your gut is functioning properly. as well as help to crowd out the gram-negative bacteria that produce.
All right, that's enough of that. Anyway, the long and the short, yes. So different ones you want to look at: glycine, proline, glutamine. Whey protein's pretty solid for some production of glutathione. All good ideas. I put the card up top so you can go and see probably this corner. You'll be able to see the link to that particular video. You can watch it in full. Obviously, the first half of it you missed because I'm an idiot and couldn't figure out that, hey, I didn't have the volume on my desktop playing. From there, your best bet is going to be to finish that one up. I'll put a link for the grass-fed wheys down below. Yeah. In terms of neuro issues, again, in terms of reducing glutathione-based issues, inflammation-based issues, a lot of times looking at glutathione. My brain's fried. I need some protein apparently too. You want to look at reducing inflammation, so scavenging the free radicals. So whey protein, because of its ability to produce glutathione, is an excellent idea. So, yeah. And actually, you know what? Let's pull up some literature on that. Why not? Just for funsies. Because right now we're looking a little bit on the protein, so we're looking for some more questions. So in the meantime, amino acid liver detox. Let's see what kind of literature we can find. Ooh, branched chain amino acids and muscle ammonia detoxification. This looks like it could be fun. In cirrhosis. Branched chain amino acids are used as a therapeutic nutritional supplement in patients with cirrhosis and hepatic encephalopathy. Interesting. We therefore speculate the beneficial effects of long-term intake of branched chain amino acids on hepatoencephalopathy. Is it? Yeah, hepatic encephalopathy. Demonstrated in clinical studies may be related to improved muscle mass and nutritional status rather than to ammonia-lowering effects of the branched chain amino acids themselves. Let's see if we can get the full version of this. And no problem. Always fun to address your questions there, Steph. Thank you for joining. I'm going to try and see if I can find the full article for this. If I can get it, I will discuss that. Oh, look at that. Perfect. So we'll take a look at how the branched chain amino acids are beneficial with respect to the liver. And of course, check out the video from before. So let's see. I'm going to go and pull this in. Nope. A little wider than that. There you go. All right. Cool. So, branched chain amino acids are used as a nutritional supplement in patients with cirrhosis and hepatic encephalopathy during liver disease. The decreased capacity for urea synthesis and portosystemic shunting reduce the hepatic clearance of ammonia, and skeletal muscle may become the main alternative organ for ammonia detoxification. We here summarize current knowledge on muscle branched chain amino acid and ammonia metabolism with a focus on liver cirrhosis and hepatic encephalopathy. Plasma levels of branched chain amino acids are lower, and muscle uptake of branched chain amino acids seems to be higher in patients with cirrhosis and hyperammonemia, so ammonia in the blood. Okay. Branched chain amino acid metabolism may improve muscle net ammonia removal by supplying carbon skeletons for the formation of alpha ketoglutarate. Where is the study published? The fact that alpha is published with an F. Interesting. That combines with two ammonia molecules to become glutamine. An oral dose of branched chain amino acids enhances muscle ammonia metabolism, but also transiently increases arterial ammonia concentration, likely due to extramuscular metabolism of glutamine. We therefore speculate that the beneficial effect of long-term intake of branched chain amino acids to be an improved muscle mass and nutritional status rather than ammonia-lowering effect of branched chain amino acids themselves. Essentially, what we're looking at here is that part of it might just be they're actually able to add more muscle. And the more muscle you have, the more that the muscle is able to store the ammonia rather than having to clear it out as fast and having it gets waiting in the blood to get cleared. So, looking through, branched chain amino acids then go to the production of NH4, which then goes into oxaloacetate, or rather, ammonia comes off, and then the rest of it goes into the acetyl-CoA. So the branched chain amino acids can go to create acetyl-CoA, which then goes and enters the TCA, or the tricarboxylic acid cycle, the Krebs cycle. Can't speak right now, apparently. Which then goes around, isocitrate goes and releases some more ammonia, goes down the glutamate pathway. From there, it runs away to glutamate, to glutamine, and some more ammonia is hopping in. From there, they can also enter in with the release of some more ammonia and produce succinyl-CoA, which again enters the Krebs cycle, and the party keeps rolling. So branched chain amino acids the plasma levels are reduced in liver disease. Back in 1956, Muting described that liver cirrhosis was associated with amino acid disbalance, including low branched chain amino acid plasma levels. The pattern of decreased BCAA concentration in patients with advanced cirrhosis came together with elevated concentrations of most other amino acids, particularly glutamine, and the aromatic amino acids phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan, which was later confirmed in several publications. The abnormal amino and pattern was characterized as the ratio between branched chain amino acids and aromatic amino acids in plasma, the so-called Fisher's ratio, which was shown to correlate with the high grade or with the grade of hepatic encephalopathy. Just kidding, I'm still here. Do you need to take amino acids fasted for them to act therapeutically? It's a great question. I don't know that specifically. However, I probably would recommend that. In the case of this, I think it's more so that there's insufficient dietary protein overall. But in terms of their benefit there, it's a good question. Not 100% sure. Let's figure this out here. Oh, here we go. Treatment effects and mechanisms. Oh, that's not going to be treatment protocols, but talk about the reasons why this could be beneficial. Now, unfortunately, this study itself, you're not going to be able to get the full version of, but I will still link to it in the description anyway. The abstract. And from there, you can try and get your hands onto a full copy. But the short version thereof is that, yes, it could be beneficial. What else, though? Whose side is this guy? Maybe one of these guys will tell us what would be the best idea to do it. Nutrition in chronic liver disease, comprehensive review of biological impedance analysis and other methods in the assessment of nutritional status in patients with liver cirrhosis. Interactions of metabolism and glutamate and branched chain amino acids and keto acids in the central nervous system. This could be interesting. Let's take a look at that one in a second. The cause and management of muscle wasting in chronic liver disease, the activity of MMP and MMP13, 1 and 13, and amino acid metabolism in patients with alcoholic liver cirrhosis. I think the winner for right now will be the interactions of the muscle glutamate, or muscle interactions of glutamate and the BCAAs and keto acids. We'll come back for that one. For now, let me finish up adding this previous one to our comments section, or description section rather. The comments section's a whole another animal, right? Metabolic brain disease. To 217 to 220. Okay. So let's pull up this study. Let's see what we got. Interactions in metabolism of glutamate and the branched amino acids. Glutaminergic neurotransmission entails a tonic loss of glutamate for nerve endings into the synapse. Replacement of neuronal glutamate is essential in order to avoid depletion of the internal pool. In the brain, this occurs primarily through the glutamate-glutamine cycle, which invokes astrocytic synthesis of glutamine and hydrolysis of the amino acid via the neuronal phosphate-dependent glutaminase. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just read through that quicker. Appreciable stand, cross the rolling barrier. Is this important for the liver? Alanine released to the liver, whereby the carbon becomes a gluconeogenic substrate and the nitrogen is converted to urea. The whole body amino acid metabolism involves the release of branched chain keto acids from skeletal muscle and their subsequent oxidation in the liver. Liver transplantation may ward off acute metabolic decompression. Unfortunately, it does not appear that this was the winner. We thought it might be. It wasn't. Yeah. What else do we have here then? What else cited it? Nutrition and chronic liver disease. Maybe. Aha. This could be a winner. We'll come back for that. Let me just drop this in there. You can start to read that without me in a second. I'm just going to drop this one in here. We're about, what, like 35 minutes in. We start talking about this a little bit. All right. So the previous study will now be in the description right now. Bam. All right. Talking about nutrition and chronic liver disease. Protein-calorie malnutrition is a transversal condition in all stages of chronic liver disease. Early recognition of micro and macronutrient deficiencies is essential because the use of nutritional supplements reduces the risk of complications. The diet of patients with chronic liver disease is based on standard diet with supplements addition as necessary. Restrictions may be harmful and should be individualized. Treatment management should aim to maintain an adequate protein and caloric intake to correct nutritional deficiencies. The large majority of patients with grade 1 or 2 hepatic encephalopathy can tolerate a regular diet. Protein restriction can aggravate malnutrition and is not recommended, except in cases of hepatic encephalopathy unresponsive to optimized therapy. So let's see. Amino acids, CLD, the major muscle's major metabolic organ. Let's see. Detox. Nope. Amino. Let's see. Bioavail. Nope. Timing is the Portuguese Journal of Gastroenterology. Let's see. We have introduction, etiology, and pathophysiology. Not quite what we wanted. Nutritional status assessment. Treatment. Bingo. Now we're talking. Food should be well. Hey, Steph, you're gonna love this one. Food should be well cooked. Now, of course, we're not talking in your case specifically about, chronic liver disease, but we are talking about someone who has issues with liver, has an overstressed, overburdened liver. So, similar ballpark, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck kind of thing. Food should be well cooked, given the patient's increased susceptibility to infections, and should be distributed in 5 to 7 daily daily meals to avoid protein overload, nausea, and vomiting. Meal schedule may be more important than the amount of food. Increasing the postprandial period can improve the patient's condition. A late night evening snack has a positive effect on nitrogen balance. Increases muscle mass by reversing sarcopenia. Yes, well cooked in the sense that, not raw, like we've talked, like your Chinese medicine doc was telling you about. Now, in terms of well cooked, I'm not talking about charring things. Don't do that. We know this. Thus, it's recommended, though, to minimize overnight fasting period in order to avoid fasting periods longer than 6 hours and to reduce the catabolism rate. Although data on this topic is scarce, patients' compliance may be difficult because the late meal may worsen reflux complaints. What the hell? This is not pertinent to what we wanted before. Okay. Although there's no consensus on meal composition, foods with high caloric content of at least 50 grams of carbohydrates and enriched with BCAAs are preferred. If administered during the night, BCAAs are preferably used in protein synthesis, while during the daytime they are preferably used in energy. The normalization of serum branched-chain amino acids promotes protein synthesis, reduces the concentration of nitrogenous products, and prevents the formation of false neurotransmitters, which may have a role in development of hepatic encephalopathy. So in this case, we're talking specifically about using them. Now, I've purposely talked about using branch chains as a way of combating PKU and MSUD, which are genetic metabolic disorders whereby you can't break down various amino acids. In the case of MSUD, you can't break down branch chains, so that was completely false what I stated before. You would use the branch chains in PKU to decrease the phenylalanine levels, whereas in MSUD, you would use phenylalanine and tyrosine to basically do the same thing, to slow down the rate at which the branch chains are being absorbed. So, essentially speaking, the various large neutral amino acids can combat each other in terms of the rate at which they are crossing the blood-brain barrier and producing false neurotransmitters. Completely unrelated side note that kind of derailed its own thought. Yeah. So anyway, the use of BCAA-enriched formulae can improve the prognosis of patients with advanced cirrhosis. So liver damage. You know what? Let's pull this up as a PDF because, again, I'm pretty OCD when it comes to reading them this way. I definitely prefer reading them as a PDF. I don't really know what you guys like. No one's really told me, but I just think it looks prettier on PDF. Oh, come on. Did I really just download it as opposed to... Oh, boy. Not that. Let's go. No. Is this the right one? That is not what I wanted. That is not where I parked my car. Maybe if we go back to the sided bot here. Maybe if I go through it this way, it won't be a pain in my butt and actually let me get to the... And it's going to download it again. Seriously? Open in new tab. I've just downloaded this stupid link like 80 times now. Awesome. Copy link address. I cannot win right now. Urgh. Awesome. Let's try this again. Why will you just keep downloading? Why won't you let me just paste you? Whatever. Here's the study number 5. The 5th time I've downloaded this. All right. So much for prettiness and just not being a pain in my ass. All right. Food should be cooked, late night snack, the use of enriched formulae. All right. The use of BCAA-enriched formulae can improve the prognosis of patients with advanced cirrhosis. These supplements may reduce the progression of liver failure, improve quality of life, reduce the severity and frequency of hepatoencephalopathy, and increase survival. However, some studies have failed to demonstrate these benefits, and further data are lacking to clarify their long-term effects. So, as with everything, there's sometimes data on the opposite end. Sometimes it doesn't work, or at least doesn't produce significant results. Did I say significantly significant? Statistically significant, if I didn't say that properly the first time. Anyway, in this context, ESPN does not recommend its regular usage. Does not recommend its regular use, given the high cost and oral intolerance, recommending in general a diet rich in whole protein. The oral digestive intolerance has been bypassed by the new formulations with new supplement flavors, but the high cost still prevents a broader use. So, in patients compensated with cirrhosis without malnutrition, the ingestion of 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram body weight daily protein is recommended, which essentially breaks down to about, that's what, 1 for every half a pound. Because it's, 1 gram per kilogram per kilogram is 2 pounds. Cannot convert math in my head right now, apparently. So it's about 1 to, it's about half a gram to 0.75 grams per pound. In malnourished patients, it's recommended depending on the severity of malnutrition and liver disease. Protein needs are higher in malnourished patients and in stress situations such as bleeding, infection, or surgery, provided there is no renal dysfunction, in which case that may be necessary to have protein restriction. So, long and short, here we're talking specifically about chronic liver disease. In people who, again, who have liver issues, generally they're being told, no, you gotta detox. You gotta make sure you have your juice fast, right? Take the burden off of your liver. But no, you need the protein because otherwise you're not gonna be able to produce the enzymes with which you're going to be able to detox. But cool. um, Carbohydrates are at the base of the cirrhotic diet. And no, we're just gonna pass right over that. Yes, I understand we're still quoting this study, and just because I agree with a bunch of it doesn't mean you have to agree with all of it, right? Yeah. We'll just say we started this one at like 8:42. So like 42 minutes. I'll fix that at the end. But yeah, I'll timestamp this here study as well. Or no, Dub, I'm not timestamping. Screw it. We're timestamping the topics, not the studies. So, amino acids and liver health. Cool. All right. So, going back to that study, basically, eat your food, make sure you're getting micronutrients in, get in your adequate amounts of amino acids, particularly the branched chains, glutamine, glycine, proline. You'll be on your way to go. All right. Oh yeah, we were talking about timing on the protein, right? Therapeutic considerations. Timing. Protein. Timing. For liver. Enzyme production, I guess. Let's see if there's anything out there on that. Liver enzyme alteration. Yep. Real time. Yep. Liver function tests and serum. Maybe. Phase 1 unit. Liver function tests and serum lipids within a restricted environment, 3-way crossover diet. Design. Diets comprise a well-balanced normal calorie diet, a high carbohydrate, high calorie diet, and a high fat, high calorie diet. Each was consumed. Blood transaminase activity and triglyceride concentrations increased significantly, whilst subjects continued or consumed a high carbohydrate, high calorie diet, but not when fed a high fat, high calorie diet or balanced normal calorie diet. Interesting. We weren't going to be talking about this in general, however, this might just be interesting in general. So, this isn't exactly what we're looking for, but fun. So, with a high carbohydrate, high calorie diet, we saw a significant increase in blood transaminase or liver enzyme activity, as well, or liver function activity, excuse me, as well as an increase in triglycerides, which again makes sense a high carb diet, but not when fed either high fat calorie or balanced normal calorie diet. This rise in transaminase and the triglycerides were caused by the carbohydrate content of the diet rather than its caloric value. Sucrose, rather than the starch, was a carbohydrate which caused the rise in transaminase and triglycerides. The importance of controlling diet in phase 1 studies is stressed. So, cool. Interesting, nonetheless. Not exactly what we're looking for, but a fun one. Lipids and diet. Boom. Effects of the malnutrition, liver cirrhosis, influence of protein. Let's see. And sodium. Previous recommendations that limited protein intake should no longer be practiced, as protein requirements of patients with cirrhosis are higher than those of healthy individuals. Higher intakes of branching amino acids as well as vegetable proteins, have been shown beneficial in patients with cirrhosis, but more research is needed on both topics. Sodium restrictions are necessary to prevent the ascites development, but very strict limitations, which may lead to PCM, should be rewarded. So protein caloric malnutrition. Let's see. Animal, because they specifically say Oh boy, here we go. Animal versus vegetable protein sources have been compared in a variety of ways to determine the effects that they may have on protein status, protein synthesis, ammonia levels, and the development or worsening of hepatic encephalopathy. Vegetable proteins are considered incomplete proteins because they lack the required amount of one or more of the essential amino acids. They need to be eaten in combination with other vegetable proteins in order to provide the body with adequate amounts of all the essential amino acids. Bingo! However, they are also typically lower in mercaptans, in aromatic amino acids, and ammonia, all of which could worsen hepatic encephalopathy. Yet, they also have a elevated branching amino acid content, which is assumed to be helpful in the prevention of HE, or hepatic encephalopathy. One of the most common limiting amino acids is vegetable proteins is methionine, a sulfur-containing amino acid that is broken down and metabolized in the liver and intestines, producing mercaptans or sulfur analog of alcohols or thiols. The intestinal byproducts of methionine are known to be important in the pathogenesis. Since vegetable proteins are low in methionine, it is therefore thought they may be a better source of protein for patients with hepatic encephalopathy. Ugh. According to Greenberg, in his case study of 3 patients, three of them with HE treated with animal and vegetable proteins, revealed that vegetable protein diets resulted in lower hepatic encephalopathy index scores as decreased serum ammonia levels. Patients who received animal proteins had higher fetor hepaticus, which was also parallel to their mental status deterioration. Ugh. So actually, this actually might be a pretty accurate one because if we're talking about, again, I don't think that you're dealing with hepatic encephalopathy, but you are dealing with both liver, overburdened liver and brain issues. So it actually kind of does apply a lot more than I thought it was. Anyway, compared the effects of 40 grams and 80 grams of vegetable protein along with 40 grams of animal protein diet. They found patient performance improved on the NCTs. What are the NCTs? NCTs. That's my fault because I kind of skipped through this particular test. The hell is the NCTs? You can't just drop a acronym in the middle of the study, guys, without explaining what the hell it is. Poor usage. Very poor methodology, guys. Well, whatever they are, they probably say it somewhere, and it's kind of half-assed on that end. Probably some kind of test, I'm assuming. However, patients on the 80-gram vegetable protein diet complained of the volume of food they needed to consume for 80 grams of protein. Yeah, 80 grams of protein from vegetables is an cubic ass load of protein, or just food in general. The amount that you have to eat to get to 80 grams of protein from vegetables alone, but, obviously you get the benefits of like fiber and whatnot, but it can lead to increased fullness. Although a bit harder and bulkier to eat, the high fiber content of vegetable protein sources seems to have its own benefits on patients with cirrhosis by decreasing ammonia levels. Yeah, it's possible it could actually absorb some of the leftover ammonia, but yeah. Fiber causes an increase in fecal bulk, and studies have shown that much of this increase in fecal weight is due to increased bacterial mass. Colonic bacteria use nitrogen for growth, and according to Amadeo, an a considerable amount of nitrogen is incorporated in the bacteria in turn in feces and is then excreted. Fiber also increased colonic motility and decreased transit time, further affecting nitrogen excretion. Last but not least, fiber metabolism by intestinal bacteria creates a lower colonic pH, preventing ammonia absorption. Yeah, through the production of short-chain fatty acids, through consumption of fiber. Yeah, it makes sense. Ugh. Since foods that contain vegetable proteins are typically bulky and must be eaten in larger amounts to provide the body with adequate amounts of essential amino acids, a diet with vegetables as the sole source of energy may not be practical for patients, some of whom are experiencing decreased appetite or early satiety. Also, vegetarian diets have been insufficient in amounts of iron and calcium. Therefore, researchers have suggested that a diet which combines vegetable proteins and casein, absolutely not, may yield desired results in the patient population. No casein, switch that with whey, and eat some damn meat, alright? Just eat your damn meat. No. A number of studies have shown less increase in blood ammonia levels after ingestion of casein compared to that of other blood proteins. Blood proteins. Cool. That's a cute way of wording this one. In addition to consuming a decent amount of protein of high biological value, protein in a food that is already absorbed, dairy products are also a rich source of branched amino acids. Yes, they are. In a study by Georgi, that guy, the high-calorie, high-protein diet that patients consumed included a mixture of vegetables and milk-derived products, so basically lacto-vegetarian, which described led to significant reduction in blood ammonia levels and improvements in NCT score. Cool. Therefore, patients may be recommended to increase their intake of these types of proteins, adding other vegetable kinds, along with the consumption of other high biological value foods such as eggs or egg whites, lean animal meats, such as chicken, fish, turkey, and of course low-fat dairy, while avoiding excessive red meat consumption. Fuck you. 1983. 1983. That right there says it all. Okay? Just no. Just no. Now, again, to be fair, I think this study is from 2004. Oh, no, this is a newer one. No. Just no. So stupid. Middle East Journal of Digestive Diseases. Yeah. Silly vegans. I just, no. Alright, just to be fair, because we actually... Yeah, I know what I said. Yes, Stephanie. I know what I said. I'm not monetized right now, so YouTube isn't really going to care too much. Whatever. Yes, I'm well aware. Actually, if you listen to my live streams, I've gotten a little bit more brazen with my vocabulary in more recent ones. Just saying. Yeah. Now, what's funnier though is the fact that you went and repeated what I said on that. So now your comment is going to be stuck on the live stream. If somebody joined it a little bit late, they wouldn't have seen it, they wouldn't have heard it. So thanks for just throwing me under the bus. Yeah, whatever. Really not too worried. All right, guys. So, do we have any last questions to close this out? So at this point, we are about an hour in. Beyond just that, make sure you head on over to facebook.com/thefirecream and make sure you like that. I'm going to make sure that I add that down below because we forgot to do that. We just, officially announced yesterday that my good friend Sarah Thomas is now our newest and for now final sponsored athlete, joining Megan Colley from the jungle down in Orlando, who may or may not be trolling right now because she likes to sneak in the background and not say anything, even though she watches like every damn week and doesn't say anything. Along with Giovanni Santillan, who is an incredible 22-0 pro boxer, and Mike Lemire, who is an incredible Glory K1 kickboxer. And yeah, those are all Team Fire Cream. Make sure you like that. We are launching officially soon after forever and ever and ever of training. So make sure you go of producing it, but not actually taking it to market. But we're finally taking it there. So make sure you go like that. If you're still interested, the Ask About the Caveman t-shirts are still available down below. Patreon, all that fun stuff. I haven't plugged that in a while. Just all that good stuff. I do plan on, getting back to doing more of these and the actual daily ones, but, eventually. I've had some interesting topics come up, and I want to do them and give them their true due, but whatever. What can you do? Well, that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this one. Thanks for staying this long. Definitely appreciate all of your input. Other than that, guys, love you, and I will see you next week.